there is something that I wanted to discuss for a long time, and I believe that you are the perfect individual to talk about this topic with. I'm actually talking about the fabled art of actually enjoying playing MMORPGs or video games in general. You know, you might think this is a common skill. It's a rare skill, right?
Rare, doesn't it?
It's a rare skill. Every day, I log onto my stream, I log into Guild Wars 2, and what do I hear? Teapot, I cannot quit. Please, I beg of you. Every day is suffering. The game is making me miserable. I cannot break free, right? I have to play. I must do the doppelganger every day. I'm forced to clear raids every week.
There must be something that's keeping them from coming that's keeping them coming back, right? It can't be all despair. I feel like maybe if people are actually like that far, they would quit, certainly, right? There's no way that people would actually feel that bad when playing video games and then keep playing.
I think this is...
I'm desperately trying to remember the rotation right now, and it's just not coming to me.
Yeah.
I haven't played this for like 6 months.
Yeah. It's time to hit some buttons. It's time to hit... Ooh.
Hello?
Ooh.
Traders.
Look who it is. Look who it is. Lara has been summoned.
I feel like I am Snepser right now, basically.
That's correct.
You know, because he's always in his channel, like chatting with you about stuff. And now I have become the Sneb.
I'm expanding
now you just need
the
to
repertoire.
get bullied daily by Teapot.
Yeah, yeah.
Can I get like a headband, you know, and then not wash it for like 4 years?
Oh, wow.
But then you wash it. You know I washed it, right?
Yeah. It has actually happened, yeah. The headband has been washed. The putrid headband, might I add. I think it's important to get that adjective in there. Seriously, I saw he actually...
Like 10,000 raised, right?
Yeah.
10,000.
Well...
Oh my gosh.
Hey, and so you gotta... I don't know if you saw this. He put this on Twitter, but he actually showed the liquid that was after the headband, as it were. Right? You know, it was... it wasn't clean, right? Let's put it like that. It was not clean.
It's yeah. I remember just like scrolling past that image as fast as possible. I was like, no, we're not looking at that.
I enjoyed it. I actually enjoyed it, to be honest. I enjoyed looking at it.
Oh my gosh. Hi, Joe. We are here to talk. I'm kind of hyped about being here.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. We keep reflecting. We're reflecting on Ken right now, and yeah, I am hyped for this conversation. Shit. Actually, yeah, like, we're rating at the same time. That's how huge gamers we really are. Yeah. We're hardcore gamers. Oh yeah.
This means I need to like play content just to keep up.
That's true. Honestly, we should have added you. We should have added you for full raid CM clear at the same time. Huge. Oh, no. Yes.
Full CMs.
Full CMs. Watch us wipe. It's going to be great.
Quality conversations during Doom CM.
Oh, yeah, we will be doing Doom CM. Sorry. Doom Free M. But anyway.
Oh, no.
You're absolutely right. There is something that I wanted to discuss for a long time. And I believe that you are the perfect individual to talk about this topic with. I'm actually talking about the fabled art of actually enjoying playing MMORPGs or video games in general. You know, you might think this is a common skill. It's a rare skill, right?
Rare, doesn't it?
It's a rare skill. Every day, I log onto my stream, I log into Guild Wars 2, and what do I hear? Teapot, I cannot quit. Please, I beg of you. Every day is suffering. The game is making me miserable. I cannot break free. Right? I have to play. I must do the doppelganger every day. I'm forced to clear raids every week. They spam, you know, do you have this? Honestly, you probably don't even have this one in your chat, Lara. Despairga, right? It's the, you know, the Pepe, the Doomga. It's grace, it's, you know, it's just grayscaled out, right? Basically. And it's just, it's kind of got like a vacant staring expression of horror. And that's how many people feel logging into their favorite MMO.
Didn't you do like a poll a while back where you were asking people if they felt despair when playing Guild Wars 2? It was something along those lines, right?
Yeah. A surprising amount of people said yes.
I don't know what it's really not that funny, but at the same time, it's very strange to think that like people are supposed to be playing something that is literally designed for their enjoyment, and they get like the exact opposite emotion.
I mean, is it really though, or people just? There must be something that's keeping them from coming that's keeping them coming back, right? It can't be all despair. I feel like maybe if people are actually like that far, they would quit, certainly, right? There's no way that people would actually feel that bad when playing video games and then keep playing.
I think it's weird. I think it's kind of a bit of a love-hate thing. I think people have an idea of the game. They play with their friends, right? Like, but they've had so much experience that everyone's got their favorite time of the game, right? Like everyone's got, oh yeah, remember when the game did this? Oh, that was so good, right? People are always chasing the golden age a little bit. And they always compare that. And also, I think people might be a little bit too unchanging in some respect. So they'll try to replicate the past instead of kind of adapting to the future. And so they'll keep trying. And they'll also have hope. Hope is actually insidious here. I know that's kind of a horrible thing to say, but there'll be like a few bad patches or a few things that happen in the game that they don't like. That, oh yeah, like this patch was really bad for me. Oh, you know, they removed it. I love this thing and they removed it. How could they do this? They removed my favorite thing. And they were like, oh, but you know what? It's going to happen. They're going to bring it back. Copium, copium, copium. It's okay. They're going to bring it back, you know? Yeah. But yeah, probably not. Yeah. So I think those kinds of exactly, like Ellie Main here, like those kind of thoughts tend to be like why this pattern of behavior is here. But I actually think that's almost like a little bit. I think it's a bit of a
the Ellie stuff means they're getting what they wanted. Finally,
exactly.
It's actually happening.
Yeah. I think almost all of this though is actually a little bit of a red herring, because I think I'm talking more about a bit of a meta issue here. I think the way a lot of players approach games is actually, in some ways, a little bit self-destructive. It's a bit unfun. I think people tend to fixate on very small details of the game that they don't like, rather than the things that they actually do like. Because I think it's like a bit... It's like a really big perception thing, right? I think it's very obvious when you don't like something. It's like, oh, I don't like this. I hate it. What the hell is wrong with this? But then you have all these things about the game that you actually really do like, but you kind of take them for granted, right? And that perspective is very damaging. It can make you feel like you hate the game, even if you maybe actually don't. But you kind of do, but not really. But yeah, what do you guys think about that?
I think people kind of get swept up in that a little bit, right? It's like, hey, there's so many things about this game that you maybe like, right? I love the combat system. I love the maybe just the world design, the music, the lore, you know, whatever kind of content or something you like in a game. But then I feel like very often there's like one thing that happens, like for example that balance patch from recently, and it's like people kind of just over fixate a bit. I understand why, right? Because people are passionate, so they really want everything to go super well, but I think sometimes people just have this one thing that they dislike, which is completely fair, but then they sort of let that cloud their entire enjoyment of the game a bit. It's like, hey, well,
them.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And that's such a, it's kind of a strange phenomenon, I feel, because just like for me, like if there's for example a patch I don't like, I'll be like, oh well, that kind of sucks, and I'll criticize it and all that stuff, but you know, still log into the game and do all the stuff that I do like. You know, if the balance is like, you know, let's say there's an OP build for a little while, that might, you know, ruin my enjoyment a little bit, but it's not entirely. Like, it's still mostly the same game I've been in love with for like 10 years. And I think sometimes people get just into this criticism, and it just kind of gets carried away with it, and it kind of like ruins their own fun a little bit, if that makes sense.
Yeah. One thing will eat their enjoyment of the game entirely.
Yeah.
Utterly.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah. And I think this is such it's a really, I don't know, it's almost weird to say, just don't feel that way, right? Oh yes, just completely change your opinion on this topic. But I think you can shift your perspective. I've got to give myself as an example here. Like a lot of people know it still gets memed about to this day, right? Like there was a time when I was extremely unhappy with the game, right? And there were a multitude of factors. I didn't like the direction that the balance was really going, the skill design. I didn't really like the direction that content was going. You know, not a lot of raid content, not a lot. It was like mostly like the story content felt very copy and paste. It didn't really feel like the game had much of a future in it whatsoever, and I was very frustrated. And it was all consuming. I was incapable of enjoying the game, right? Totally incapable of enjoying the game. Like it didn't really matter what happened. And it's not that my concerns were untrue. They were very true, actually. And some of it's even true today, actually. But the thing is that I think you've just got to go, you know what? That's the way the game is, right? And you got to handle that. You've got to find ways. You've got to find ways to enjoy the game or quit, right? Like those are your two options. You've got to appreciate the game for what it is and find fun in the ways that you can, or you have to just get the hell out. And taking a break, I basically played Classic WoW for like 9 months or so. That allowed me to kind of reshape my perspective. And honestly, the nature of Classic WoW being so social, like really helped me do that. I came back and it was like, I immediately was like, okay, it's community time. Oh yeah, community infinity, right? Hell yeah, let's go.
I got egg.
Oh boy.
This is the time that people on Reddit still refer to when they mention you.
Yeah.
It's like, oh wow, didn't Teapot quit the game
True.
3 years ago? People still remember.
I think the folks that that have, you know, quit the game but just stuck around to sort of crap all over it for a long time, they've actually really had an impact on the narrative around the game and what people feel about the game. I think as humans, we're just naturally susceptible. Oh my gosh, I just tanked Samrock. We're just naturally susceptible to that stuff. Because, you know, if we're constantly surrounded by negativity, you might feel a little bit negative after a while.
Yeah.
You know?
Just kind of like, it's got this sort of echo chamber vibe of this, right? Where you hear a couple people just criticizing, and again, criticism is something that should happen. It's something that helps improve the game, but you sort of get these echo chambers where it's just only the criticism. And I think this goes kind of back to what you were saying before, like the good stuff kind of gets taken for granted a little bit, and then you forget about the good stuff, you just see the bad stuff. You start like associating the game with negative feelings in your head a bit, and it's not really, I think, something bad that you're doing, but it's just kind of a shame that it happens like that. Like, I fucking love this game, right? There's so much stuff I like about this game, and I have an absolute blast logging in every day. And then you go on like Reddit or something when, you know, the subreddit is not happy about something, and it just feels like it's the worst game ever when you read some of those threads, right?
It's like that
terrible game.
It's like that classic Steam review, right? Where it says, oh yeah, 8,000 hours, terrible, don't play, right? Like, what is going on there, right? There's got to be something going on, like, that's caused this. That's exactly why I actually wanted to, this is why I wanted to talk to you about this exactly, Lara, because I don't think I've ever seen you not have fun. It doesn't happen. Never seen it.
Never.
I've said this on stream. I'm going to say it again. I think basically every gamer, every MMO gamer could learn something from you in this regard, because I actually really think that these days, I think people tend to expect, oh, if I'm not having fun, it's the game's fault. It's the game's fault I'm not enjoying it. But I actually don't think that's entirely true. It's hard to express this idea. Maybe you gamers can do this better than me. But I think that there is actually a very important component, especially in MMOs or long-term games that you play for a long time period, right? For like multiple months or years even, where taking responsibility for the way you interact with the game and interact with, you know, the community is actually a really important thing to be aware of and to actually engage in. Like, I think it's really essential if you want to enjoy a game long term and play a game long term. I think there is a level of personal responsibility that is required in how you approach and interact with the game itself. What do you think? Yeah,
I mean, in a sense, like, you know, the game does have to be fun, of course, but I definitely think you can ruin your own fun really easily, right? There's so many things you can do where you just, again, like, you can sort of hyper fixate on something that you don't like. And this, also think there's part of that is taking the game very seriously, maybe.
Ooh.
You know, when you start taking the game, when you're trying to, like, again, don't get me wrong, I think that a lot of people really have a great time doing speedrunning or something like that, right? That can be super enjoyable. I tried to speedrun once in the amateur rating party, and we lost in the first round. But that was fun. Don't get me wrong. There is a certain fun in taking the game very seriously. I'm not denying that, but I think that's part of that is sometimes maybe just like if you're really getting to the points where you are finding yourself just being angry all the time, like taking a step back and reevaluating and just being like, I'm supposed to be here to have fun. I think it's very important. And also, like we were talking about that before, right? I think, you know, some of us kind of live in these games, right?
Oh yeah.
We just spend like hours and hours
Never
and hours.
touch grass.
Never ever go outside. I actually went to the beach this week. It was great. I went to touch grass. But like taking a break can generally be so healthy, I think, giving you a sort of a perspective. If you really get to that point where, you know, people describe that they're having despair logging into the game, I think taking a break and just, or maybe not even necessarily taking a break, but trying to take the game less seriously for a little while might be worth doing. You know, just refocusing, hey, what's the stuff I actually like? You know, like just trying to reconnect with that person you were when you first got hooked in this game. I sound like I'm like writing a self-help book right now, but
Well, you know what I like that you said? That it's okay to take a break. I feel like for some reason in the MMO content creation scene, we somehow, I guess players of MMOs believe that it's supposed to be infinite in every way. That you can never get bored, and that this game is meant to have endless content to the point where you are constantly stimulated. Like, and you know what? That's a weird expectation to have of anything. And if we check our expectations a bit and realize that like the game, even though there's a lot of depth to MMOs, especially because they're social, they're still finite. Like it's okay that at some point you might not be having fun. It is completely fine. And when at the point when you're not having fun, you can take a break. You can step away. When new content comes, maybe you find it fun again, and you know what? Maybe you don't. It's okay. Sometimes people grow out of a game, sometimes they move on. Sometimes they come back 5 years later and they love that it's completely fresh and new. But for some reason, it feels like MMO communities are so opposed to the idea of taking a break that it's not okay that the game should be finite in any way.
I think that's actually...
Yeah, because that's the thing. Like,
oh, yeah, no, go ahead.
You cannot have infinite content, right? Like, if you look at any MMO, in every single MMO that's out there right now, you've got people complaining that there's not enough content. There's not a single MMO where people are like, yeah, this game is plenty. They could just not make content for a while. You know, just
always want
it's
more.
Impossible. At some point, you kind of gotta make your own fun if you wanna keep playing, right? You gotta like set some goal for yourself. Gotta find something that's fun to you. But you're completely right. It's just, there's this weird thing where we sort of expect these games to have infinite hours of enjoyment, and then once we've played like 40,000 hours, we're like, well, there's nothing to do in this game.
Played 10 hours a day for 3 years. There's nothing to do. There's no content in this game. What's wrong with this?
You complete the content that like 200 people worked on in various capacities, either directly or indirectly, for 3 months. You beat it in like 8 hours, then you're like, the game is dead. It's horrible. No one should play it. It just doesn't make any sense. Like it's okay that the game is finite. It's okay that there's a limit. It's okay that the story ends. Sometimes there needs to be a conclusion. And sometimes maybe it's just a to be continued. And that's fine. I think we need to embrace those sorts of things and be comfortable with them so that we don't set ourselves up for constant disappointment.
Someone in my chat actually just mentioned something really interesting about this. Like, games are also kind of designed, though, to almost encourage that logging in every single day, right?
Yeah.
Like
they
these
absolutely
FOMO loops. In a way, it's part of like just modern gaming, where we want every game to be something we play daily and we never stop, and there's always like some new battle pass to complete or something, you know?
Yeah.
They're always breadcrumbing you. That's what they're doing, right? They want you to, they always want your attention. They never want you to feel like you can go somewhere else. Because from a consumer behavior perspective, it's actually super interesting. MMOs have a huge sunk cost fallacy, right? You've spent so much money on skins. You've spent so long getting this item or doing whatever or raiding with a guild. It's very hard to leave an MMO because you will leave so much behind, is the perception.
Mm-hmm.
So the game naturally will breadcrumb you as much as possible so that you'll never leave, because they want your business. They want you to keep playing their game. They want you to spend money on skins and do those sorts of things. And that's just the reality of the gaming industry today, is that there's a lot of competition. They want to hold your attention, and this is a way that they can do that.
If anything, I do think Guild Wars 2 is relatively good about that stuff, though.
Questionable stuff aside, because I think there definitely are some things that kind of are a bit predatory in the sense that they force you to log in every day, or like heavily incentivize that. I think there's also the fact that it's something that Lara mentioned earlier, right? Like, these games are almost like more than games, like to a lot of people.
Absolutely.
Definitely to me, right? And I'd imagine perhaps to you too as well, actually. Like, it's not just a game anymore, right? It's actually a little bit more than that. So the idea of like, oh wait, not logging in, like, that's super weird. Like, what am I gonna do? Like, this is where my social circle is, right? You know, that this is how I talk to people. This is how I interact, right? So I think that's like a big part of it, on why it can be like really difficult to kind of get away from, to actually log out.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, the longest break I ever took was like 2 months. That's in the past 10 years. That was like when WoW Classic came out.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing, right? Like I think you hit the nail on the head there. It's just, for many people, this is like their social circle. For me, it is like all the people I hang out with, I met in this game, basically. So I think that's part of that. Like you said, it becomes more than just a game. I think that's why people get so passionate. And that's why people, gets kind of heated maybe when they criticize the game, because they really, again, it's more than just like, oh, this one online game I play sometimes is doing something I don't like. No, it's like, this game is like a huge part of my life, right? Yeah. And that's maybe also a part why stepping away from it, even though sometimes you probably should, people just kind of keep sticking with it. They're like, hey, my raid squad is counting on me, right? And I think that maybe leads to the point where sometimes people aren't having fun, but they're still forcing themselves to play, which is like,
yeah, at some point, this game is an expression of identity. So this is really cool, actually. I did some, like a course on this. So there's this paper that was done about how our possessions are, it's by Belk, I think. Possessions are an expression of self-identity. And so the things that we hold have more meaning than just being an object. For example, some people collect baseball cards. Those baseball cards aren't just a picture of a baseball player that was good at baseball. That represents somebody's childhood. It represents their experience with the game. It represents them being on the ball diamond Saturday night and hitting a home run. They put a lot of meaning and value into that thing. And I honestly think that MMOs are basically that on steroids, because you have an actual character that you design the looks of. You can make it look like yourself, or any kind of thing that you want. You can be whatever you want, and you can dress however you want, and make your own story. You can create relationships in the game. You meet people. You dump a lot of your identity into this if you want to. And I think that's both really special and also kind of scary at the same time, because that I predict that's why people get so upset when the game goes in a direction that maybe conflicts with their expression of self. If you're a raider and you don't get raids for a couple years, it's like an attack on who you are, because you're like, but I've dumped all of my identity into doing this thing with my friends. This is where I am. And then suddenly it's not aligning necessarily with either your values or with sort of how you enjoy the game, or just with who you are. And that can feel that can be really challenging to overcome.
Absolutely. It's a very difficult thing. And I think, I think we've kind of described what's going on in a really good way, actually. So I kind of wanted to move on to the second part here. And it's actually the solution to this. And what I think, or perhaps what you lot think, is actually the way to approach this problem and how to handle things. How to handle things when things aren't exactly the best, right? When things are a little bit tough in the game, or there are some things that you aren't, I guess, like perfectly happy with the way the game is actually being executed here. And actually, you know what? I'm not even going to go first. I don't want to go first because I want to hear from the expert. I want to hear from the best person I've ever seen do this. Lara.
Wow.
How do you have...
I feel like flatters.
How do you have fun in MMO in games? Please tell me. I need help.
The secret ingredients. I don't really think there's like necessarily a secret to it. This, well, something I try really hard, also just I guess in like my contents, is I don't like negativity.
Okay.
And again, that's not to say that like, oh, you should never criticize the game, you should never like, you know, have like negative points about something, but I feel like there's such an overload of negativity on the internet. You know, like you go to some YouTube video, you go on Twitter, whatever, you go on a Twitch stream, and it's just, it feels like it's so popular to bash things. And I don't know, it just, after a while, I actually, when I was younger, I actually used to be very cynical. I used to just kind of just not like things, and I would always be like, well, actually, you might enjoy that, but... And at some point, I think I realized, like, this is actually, like, not fun. It's much more fun to like things. So, when playing something like Guild 2, again, it's not like there's no criticism to be had. Of course there is, but there's just a lot of things I really like about this game that is still here. Or, wow, that sounds a bit dramatic almost, but stuff that doesn't really change. You know, I've been a lot, for example, with like the lore of this game for like, you know, I started playing in like 2006 or something. I love the music in this game. I love like the exploration. I love how pretty the maps are. And I try to keep focusing on those things. So, you know, when, for example, Arenas kind of stopped releasing raids for a little while, I was like pretty sad about that because raids were some of my favorite content. But I sort of try to keep focusing on those things which I did really like. You know, like, oh, well, there might not be raids, but I'm still having a blast doing this thing. I'm still having a blast doing this thing. I still really like these alt raids. And I think that sort of the trap here is that, you know, when you start criticizing the game, and then you start like hanging out on maybe a place like the Guild 2 subreddit, not just the subreddit, but also like, I don't know, on a Facebook page or something. I think very often people just get into this sort of like negative feedback loop, where it's like, I don't like this about the game, and then other people say like, I also don't like this about the game, and then that's all they see, and that's sort of, again, it sort of starts to like be all they think about. So like for example, that balance patch recently, there was a lot of negative feedback to that, and I wasn't happy about it either. But I very much tried to like look at that and be like, well, at least it looks like Druid is gonna be a lot more fun now. And well, hey, this balance might not be that great for a while, you know, probably not gonna have a great time playing support warrior, but there's still all these builds that are really fun. And I guess I'm like a little bit conscious trying to like keep focusing on the things I like, because it's much nicer to be happy and positive. And yeah, I don't like being just super negative about things.
Yeah.
So critique things, but try to make sure it doesn't like begin overwhelming everything, I suppose. But again, I'm not even sure if any of what I'm saying makes sense, because this is, I guess, like just kind of how it works out for me naturally.
No, I think that's great. I think a lot of the things that we're going to say here are going to seem really obvious in a way, right? Like, oh yeah, just focus on the good stuff, right? But I think it's important to remind people about that, right? Because I think that is something that does get forgotten. I think that you can easily get caught, as you say, in this negativity loop, and then yeah, you then all of a sudden that advice is like, whoa, this has changed my life. It's a game changer. No, I think that's definitely true. I think what helped me is definitely having like a goal. And my case is maybe a little bit weird, but I think it actually could be applied. Because broadly speaking, when I came back from WoW Classic, I was like, you know what? Guild Wars 2, good video game. I'm going to do what I can to make as many people enjoy it and try and accomplish something, right? And, you know, my goal was, okay, let's see if we can make like this really big community. I saw this absence that, man, the game doesn't really have much of a community feel to it. Everyone's all kind of everyone's atomized in little different communities. And there's no unifying community of the entire game. It's something that I saw in WoW, actually, and I really enjoyed in WoW. And I also saw it in Final Fantasy as well. And I thought, whoa, really want that. And so I tried to... Yeah, exactly. I have set about that as my mission. I think having that goal has really kept me going, and it's given me something to be excited about trying to do and trying to accomplish. Now, not every goal needs to be as stupid as my goal, right? Like, to be clear, because, you know, my goal is a little ridiculous. I'm a ridiculous person, though, so it kind of fits in that regard. But I think just having something that you're trying to do is really important. I think if you're in a tailspin, just doing nothing, like nothing you're doing feels like it does anything and none of it matters. I think that is how you get to despair, in my opinion. I think that's how a lot of people actually feel. I think that's one of the key reasons why people feel despair, right? It's because, like, oh, I've got nothing to do. I can't do anything. Nothing I do matters. Oh no, and that's when the despair comes in. And I think it can be stuff like, hey, why not just make a guild and play with a group of friends, right? And have fun and try different game modes. That's exactly what, of course, Lara did, right? Like, tried loads of different game modes. Like, a music guild tries world versus world, you know, all this kind of stuff, all these different things. We need a music guild plays PvP. I think that has happened, actually. Yeah, tries daily automated tournament. In fact, that has happened. I remember this. I remember seeing some Firebrand gameplay, I believe. Maybe some Willbender gameplay as well.
Oh, Willbender game. That was mostly just me, though.
Yeah.
The issue is that a lot of my musical friends are actually good at that. So, you know, if we queue together, I'll just, like, get matched against, like, really good people. I'll be destroyed by the MMR.
Yeah, and I think just having a goal, having a mission is super, super important. And kind of baked into that is interacting with the social side of gaming, right? Is absolute, well, in my opinion, it's essential. That's obviously my perspective. It's what I enjoy. It's why I like multiplayer games a lot more than single player games. Nothing wrong with a single player game, but I'm always drawn to multiplayer because, I don't know, I just like it. I like the fact there's loads of players all over the place. And doing that is really good, I think. But yeah, have a mission, switch it up, try something new, try some different stuff. Like, don't let yourself be miserable. What a great line. I'm stealing that now, Lara. This is the downside of coming on the stream and talking to me about stuff. It means that I can plagiarize your every word. And yeah.
I signed a contract before coming on your stream that you have all the rights to everything I say.
It's not fun to be miserable. It's not fun to be, you know, like, hating the game. It's not fun whatsoever. And trying to avoid that, actively trying to avoid that, I think is very much in your interest. It will take a bit of effort, obviously, sometimes, right? Like, you're going to have to maybe go out of your way to kind of stretch the content out and find things to do. But in my opinion, it's well worth it, right? Because even though a lot of people aren't happy with the game right now, I can honestly say I am enjoying Guild Wars 2 almost more than ever before, right? Like, it's comparable to my favorite time in the game, which is playing World versus World in Heart of Thorns with the crew, with the gang. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. Like, I wake up, I'm like, let's go. I'm ready to turn on the stream. I'm ready to game hard, right? The stream is definitely part of my enjoyment as well, but that's kind of an aside, right? That's like another thing. But yeah, it's big. That's kind of what helped me. What about you?
Yeah, and that's really what you want. Just wanting to log in every day, right?
Yes.
That's the most important.
Yes.
I think the way that I've personally enjoyed the game has changed over time. And I think that's healthy, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I used to just play PvP. Originally I just played open world, and then I only played PvP for like 4 years. And then I played open world again, and then Strikes came out, and I played instance content. And now I'm at a place now where I really just kind of enjoy seeing other people have success, like kind of the giving back phase. You know, I've already gone through the whole. You know, I've done all the. I feel like I've kind of done all the things except for Harvest Temple CM, but I've sort of done all the CMs and stuff. I'm comfortable with that. I'm happy with that. And now I just find it fun when somebody's like, man, I've been working on this for like 2 months and I can't kill Doom CM and I can't find a group. I need help. And I go, oh, well, we actually have a group for that. Like, you know, I know some people, like, let's connect you. Let's set you up. And then they get the kill and they're so happy. I think that's super fun. To me, that's fun. Or playing with people and teaching people something new, or trying something with somebody who's never achieved, you know, Kadim CM. I think those are like cool activities, and I'm I'm kind of in a good place with that. I still enjoy the game. To me, it's become more and more social in how I enjoy the game. But yeah, it's still good.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you get to sort of like sharing that excitement, right? Like for you, killing Doomsday is like not very exciting. It's like I've done it tons of times. But then when you get someone else that's like new, their first Doomsday kill, suddenly it's like exciting again, you know? I think it's very important. I think it's kind of the same as what Teapot is saying, like having yourself kind of a goal, you know? It's almost about making your own fun, you know, especially if you've been playing a game for this long. You kind of gotta find something you really enjoy, something that genuinely makes you happy, and really like zone in on that.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think you said something really important there as well, Sneb, is that you were talking about how the way you've enjoyed the game has changed. This is 1,000,000% yes. I think that you have to be willing to kind of adapt to the situation. Video games that last for a long time, it ain't going to be the same forever, right? Because honestly, you don't want that either. It will just be boring, right? Eventually, if the game never changed, there was never anything new, right, in any way, then yeah, you're eventually going to go like, oh, well, okay, and I've had enough of that, right? But yeah, like the fact that eventually things are going to change, that kind of means that you have to change as well. And that was like a key realization, actually, with like kind of my approach to the game, is that I was like, yeah, I need to change my approach. The game is different now. And that means what I'm doing, you know, I'm trying to force, you know, a square peg into a round hole. It's just not going to work, right? You can't do that. It's just not going to be enjoyable. And as a result of that, you know, I think that understanding that adapting to the situation, kind of understanding where a game is and what the game is and how to approach it is like really important, and changing the way you approach things. And that's just good for variety, right? To mix things up a little bit, all that kind of stuff. But it's also good to just understand like that the game is in a constant state of flux anyway. Look, some people in the chat saying, I refuse Giga Chad.
Which, you know, I guess like you don't have to. Like, I guess all these things we're talking about, you know, enjoying the game. It's not something we're telling you like you have to do this.
Just hate the game.
But it's like just much more fun. I feel like it's just, you're gonna have a lot more fun, like, you know, trying to find these things that you like, trying to not let the negativity cloud your judgment too much. Or cloud your judgment, cloud your fun, really. Don't want the negativity to like make the game unfun for you, and you just have more fun and be a happier person.
Yeah.
Actually, something that you're kind of like mentioning right now, I think also just, you know, like you're doing a race clear now, right? I think just part of that is also just like finding fun people to play with, which can of course be very difficult, but that can really sort of revitalize the game for you as well, I think. And again, like, you know, this sort of comes back to my music guild tries to raise thing. Like, what we were doing there was we were not trying to be super serious about this. We're trying to be a bit serious. We actually wanted to get the kills, but our focus was mostly just on like having a good time together. And I think that is something that's maybe a lot of people are kind of missing, you know? If you're always focusing on like getting the next, like, you know, getting your clear. Sometimes it can be fun to like join a group where you just vibe for a little while, but at least you have a fun time together. I think that's something people maybe kind of forget sometimes. It's of course you want to get your rewards, you want to be successful, but just having a good time with your friends is pretty hard to beat. And yeah, that's worth pursuing if you can. I think a great way to sort of like make the game fun again is to look for fun guilds and try to find a guild that you click with, and really feeling like you're part of a community. That's just, I remember that I was playing around launch and I was having a good time. I was like running dungeons and stuff, but I wasn't really like super hooked. I was playing like a couple times a week, having a fun time running Ascom Catacombs. But then only once I found myself like some friends and I found a guild, then I was like, oh wow, this game is actually awesome. There's so much stuff we can do together. So yeah, worth looking into finding yourself in nice guilds.
I think this is where things get a little interesting. And I think it's why this is a problem to an extent. Is because a lot of the things that we're talking about here, they work really well. Because, well, look, we're the evidence. I'm enjoying the game. I think a lot of the people who are involved in our projects, like Sneb Static Group, the Music Guild, C Major, right, like, and Hardstuck, right? I think a lot of the people who are actually involved in stuff like this are actually really enjoying the game. I'd like to think so anyway. Most of them are, right? Okay, I hope. But the thing is that it does require not exactly a leap of faith, but there's a bit of effort involved, right? You're going to have to actively do something. And that can be an uncomfortable thing. And it can be difficult to go, is it even worth it, right? Like, well, I'm telling you, all of you, it's worth doing. It really is. I'm having a lot of fun in the game. Also, the game it's become almost less of a thing than like the actual people I play with, right? And, the meta around it, like the meta goal, the meta activities around the entire thing. That's where a lot of the fun is coming from me. But I do think that it is a case of getting over that first hurdle of having a go and be willing to put the effort in to do so. Right? And I also think this almost segues into another topic. Hey, that's for next time. Like, I'm getting the hook in for the next little mini tea time here, I guess, actually, because I do think there's a really big problem with people being unwilling to take the initiative, and more specifically being slightly unwilling to take leadership roles, actually, within gaming communities. And I think without leadership, you have a lot of problems, right? Like, then it's really hard to get anything done and nothing happens. I think that's a big issue in Guild Wars 2, for sure. Maybe more so than other games, but certainly in general. Like, leaders and people who take initiative are essential in making gaming a fun experience.
Yeah, you get this thing, right, where there's like, 20 people staring at LFG, all wanting to do strikes, for example, but there's not one person that wants to make the group, so everyone's just kind of AFKing and waiting and hoping. Yeah, it's like, it is generally like difficult for people to get to that point, right? And I think just like, gaming has to be fun. Like, if you are genuinely having like anxiety over like, leading a squad or something, then you probably shouldn't do it at all. But yeah, I think a lot of people probably would really enjoy taking up leadership roles in communities and, I don't know, leading a squad or something like that, but just are maybe a little bit intimidated. And once they get over that initial hurdle, I know it was like that for me. Like, when I was, I used to be terrified of commanding metas, for example. She's like scared, like I will go the wrong way, people will yell at me. And at some points, because I started streaming, I just started doing it. And it's actually been something I really enjoy. But yeah, sometimes you gotta get outside your comfort zone a little bit to discover something you like, and that's like slightly difficult. But we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves, I feel. Getting into your next topic a little bit.
I feel like I'm gonna go a little tangential here, but I wanted to bring up something that
Let's go.
Lara said. I think it's really important. Perhaps the key. The key that unlocks the test of happiness amongst players. Lara, you fail sometimes, but you don't stop smiling. And I think that's really important. A lot of people, they're so hard on themselves. They think that everything has to go perfect the first time. But when you do the Music Guild tries to raid thing, you're failing and you're still having a blast. I feel like if we can separate having fun and winning, we can separate those for a second and realize that it's okay to fail, especially if you're trying to do a challenge or if you're doing something for the first time. It's okay. It's totally okay. And ultimately, that's almost a skill that you're flexing, right? You're able to just when things go wrong, you're still having a blast with your friends, and it's contagious. When you're having fun, even when you're failing, other people are also gonna have fun.
I think that contagious is exactly where you hit the nail on the head there. Like, I feel like, let's say you're in a squad, right, and you're pugging some raid balls, and then like people start leaving. Like, other people will start leaving too the second one person leaves, and just these vibes kind of, they hit, like you said, they're contagious. And I think even if you're like kind of trying to be a tryhard, you know, you're trying to really get that kill. Maybe your focus is just getting the kill because you want achievements and you don't care that much about having fun. I still think it's worth trying to be really positive the whole time. Because like I said, the rest of your team might also remain positive and might stick together longer and might have a better time in the end. You know, like in the end, we're all just spending a bunch of time in this game, and I feel like there's no advantage to ever being like super negative. Just none. Like if you're being super negative, you're just making your own time worse, you're making the time of other people worse. You're not gonna like suddenly kill the boss. Like nobody ever goes like, oh well, that's one person that we're all bad. Oh wow, now I'm suddenly gonna play better. Yeah, I think just it's maybe it is a skill. I don't really know, but I think it's worth trying, especially if you're like if you're the commander, right? You want to keep everyone together. You want to keep everyone smiling. You want to make sure everyone has a good time. I think it's extremely important to sort of spread the good vibes. Like something I do all the time, when I'm just on LFG, so just write the message like, we can do it. It's like very straightforward, but I feel like it helps. To be fair though, I've had people tell me that it's annoying. I've had people be like, well, Lara, you're being way too positive. It's actually annoying. But I'm like, oh well, I don't care that much.
Keep doing it anyway.
Happens. Hell yeah.
Just do it even harder.
Yeah, even more. Yeah, until they give in.
You know,
they just keep going until they just have to give up. They have to just admit defeat and become positive as well.
That's what happens if you join my squad. There will be like positivity and you can't stop it. You gotta make your own negative squad if you want to have a negative squad. Make your own group, okay?
Yeah. It definitely is that stepping out of the comfort zone that I think prevents a lot of this from happening, right? And it's understandable as well, right? Like trying new things can be pretty scary, right? Particularly if there's a potential for it to, one, not work, right? You know, and you're already unhappy about the game. Like we're basically saying, hello, if you're not enjoying the game, have you tried playing the game even harder? It's a bit of an unusual proposition, but I think, you know, I think it does make sense to try and do stuff like this, right? For sure. Like to try and change the way you enjoy the game. Because I think, and this is what people never admit. They never admit it, but you know what? I don't believe them. I think that all the people who are kind of like hard stuck in the game, right? They secretly like the game. And that sounds like a bit like mind ready, you know, a little bit, you know, a bit of psychobabble there. But I think there's some truth to that. I think that they at least want to enjoy the game, right? They may not secretly like it right now. They might think the game is complete trash, but ultimately I think there is a component of, I want to have fun. There is a desire to have fun. And if you find yourself, if you're listening to this and you're in that situation, like, oh, you know, I love this game. I really want to enjoy the game. I think you have two choices. Choice number one is cut your losses and quit and say, well, you know what? I really want to enjoy the game, but to be honest, I'm not really feeling like putting any additional effort in to change my behavior and modify the way I engage to make my own fun and to enjoy the game. And the second option, which in my opinion is the superior option a lot of the time, it's going to be, you know what? Yeah, let's see what I can do about this. Let's see if I can actually, let's see if I can have fun in the game. Let's see if I can appreciate the game for what it is. Take a bit of a leap of faith. Take a little bit, you know, step a little bit outside my comfort zone and try some new things and see what can be done there, right? Like, you know, it's a little bit of a gamble, but you know what? If it doesn't work, you can always quit.
I mean, you got nothing to lose, right?
Yeah.
All you're doing is investing time in the end. And yeah, that's like, it's also okay to not like the game. You know, I think this game is like super awesome, but maybe this is a bit tangential as well, but there's this huge MMO tribalism where people are like, my MMO is the best MMO and all other MMOs suck. But I think just what you want to do is you want to find a game that fits with you, right? Like a game that sort of fits with your taste, a game that has got the kind of stuff that you like. And, you know, if it turns out that Guild Wars 2 isn't that for you, if it turns out like, hey, I want a game that has more of a geared treadmill or something like that, it's totally okay to just quit. Like we talked about that, it's okay to take a break, but it's okay to quit as well. But you've got all these people that like quit, and it's it's not because Guilds 2 is bad necessarily, but just because the game doesn't fit them that well, and they just stick around. And it just, I think that's part of like this negative spiral that people get in. There's like a huge group of people that's just like running around all day going like, oh, Guilds 2, that game sucks. Have I mentioned already that Guilds 2 sucks? And they're just spreading this constantly. And I don't really understand. It feels like such a bad, frustrating way to spend your time. If you don't like the game, if it doesn't align with what you like, just quit, play something else. And yeah, that's it. But I think you're right. I think in the end, a lot of people want this game to be something which is not. And they'll sort of just keep pushing for that a little bit.
Yeah.
Passion is what it is.
It's true.
I think.
Like I think that understanding what the game is important. If you are looking for a super hardcore raiding game with like big raid content all the time, yeah, Guild Wars 2 probably isn't that game. And the thing is, it probably won't be either. Although, weirdly enough, it might be with the way strike missions are going, or at least a little bit like that. It's just, you have to understand what the situation is, right? And what's likely to happen. And then adapt accordingly.
Yeah, and, I think especially right now, this game is like really, really awesome.
It is.
I think that's especially like all the recent changes, like all these patches, like the massive reward buffs they've been doing. Balance patch, the balance notes that they posted yesterday, in my opinion, actually look like they are really just starting to get it. I think the game is in an awesome spot. I'm having, like you said, I'm having some of the most fun in a long time right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I really enjoy that. And part of me just hopes that more people can find that same enjoyment, because, being happy is a pretty good feeling.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
And that's, that point that you just brought up there about how the game is in a pretty good spot. I think the thing that's missing and perhaps preventing a lot of this energy and excitement is actually just the lack of new content, right? Like, we've got like old content coming back rather than new content. Strike CMs and so on, but that's, that's not for everyone, right? That's a pretty small segment of the community. But yeah, the thing that really prompted this was actually, I was thinking like, whoa, the game is really good right now. Why is everyone so depressed? I go on the Reddit, everyone's depressed. I look at my Twitch chat, everyone's depressed. I look at my Discord, everyone's depressed. It's like, what's going on? I don't understand. Like, the game is in a really good spot, in my opinion. I think things are really looking up. I think I can say this without exaggeration. I genuinely feel that Guild Wars 2, it's finally looking like the game is on an upward trajectory, right? And I'm not here to be like a mega doomer, like mega despair overlord or whatever, but I've definitely felt that during a lot of Path of Fire, I felt like the game was going downhill. And I think that was reflected in community sentiment as well. It really did feel that it felt like we were getting to the end, right? And that might be a bit dramatic, but I think it's not unrealistic, actually. I think it did feel like the end. It had been a good run, but it felt like it was ending. But now it doesn't. It feels the opposite. It feels like they're going to be doing this game forever, right? You've got like another expansion already confirmed, right? At this point, there's obviously going to be another season. We've got strike missions. The way they do PvE content has been refined a lot, right? Like, everything kind of looks really good, like, for the future of the game. And I wanted to try to help people in a way to find that passion, to find the energy, because I think this is a really good time to have it, particularly as the Steam release is coming. But that's another thing entirely.
We need as many people as possible to plug this game.
Yes.
That sounds
sell
a bit
out.
but
Exclamation mark GW2 in the chat. Buy the Ultimate Edition using my referral link now. Please do.
Don't do that. Go over to my Twitch instead and use my referral link instead.
Okay, right. I'm never having. This is why I always have Sneb, by the way, because Sneb calls his ArenaNet partner, so he's no threat to me. So yeah, now that okay, right, we're not doing this again.
Unfortunate.
Doom just did something very weird. Okay, I'm just gonna. Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
Oh shit, you're doing Doomsday right now?
Yeah, we're doing Doomsday right now, and something very weird happened. I did green as the tank, and the boss just left, okay?
This is like genuine streamer skill, though. Like, having a conversation while doing Doomsday. I think people underestimate how hard that is. I'm not sure if I could do Doomsday while streaming.
Yeah, I mean, it's
That might be on me.
yeah, it's a little spicy. A little spicy. I haven't completely trolled just yet, so I'm pretty happy about that. But yeah.
Well, I mean, you know, you kind of did, but
There was a little bit of trolling, okay? Just like a little touch, right? There was a touch. But yeah, I think we've actually explored this topic really well. Do any of you gamers have any kind of thoughts? I mean, you've been, you know, just focusing on that putrid berserker rotation for a while now. Do you want to kind of go over some stuff that you've been thinking about during this conversation, actually? Because I think that's kind of
I've just been thinking.
Yeah.
I've just been thinking I'm having fun,
Yeah,
even
yeah.
though I'm not playing the best or whatever, and it's okay. It's okay to not be the best at something. You don't have to be the best at something to enjoy it. Look, I suck at art. I'm not that good. But you know what? I went to this pottery thing with my wife, and we painted pots, and it was fun.
Go.
It was a good time. I made a butter dish actually, and I wrote butter on it. It was really scuffed.
It's big.
But it was super fun. It's okay to have fun.
I mean, it's so simple, but I do think people kind of forget that sometimes. It's okay to just have fun and not be good at something.
Yeah.
Although, sometimes those two can align, right? Like, sometimes being good at something is what you find fun.
Yeah,
and then
absolutely.
you really want to, like, push yourself. And I think that's a lot of fun. But, yeah, it's also okay if you know, you like different kind of things. If you like making a butter ball thing, which you just talked about.
Yeah. It's big.
The butter dish.
The butter dish.
Hell yeah.
Butterdish.avi. But yeah, no, I think that that kind of covers like what I wanted to chat about, more or less today. And this is actually the type of content that personally, I really enjoy this stuff because I love talking to people. I love talking to interesting people who have interesting things to say about interesting topics. So thank you very much for coming on. I actually have to do a lot more stuff like this and to almost kind of refine my usual me yelling at the stream while I'm just randomly pressing buttons playing the game. I want to refine that to I get other people to also yell at the stream while I'm playing the game, pressing buttons randomly. So thank you very much for hopping on board here as well. And also, Lara streaming at the same time. My favorite. That's what we love to see. Now we've got to get Sneb streaming at the same time. It's the wombo combo. This is kind of as a kind of a final kind of bonus topic thing. Actually, this is one of the things that I feel very passionately about, and it's kind of part of my mission. Is actually building a community. You know, I want to always be showing up on other people's streams. I want to be everywhere, and I want everyone to be everywhere. I think that's so much fun. Like from a streamer perspective and from a community perspective too. Like for those who are interested in content creation and streamers, I think it's always fun to just have something going on. Right? Like, oh yeah, whoa, these people are talking together right today. Like, oh yeah, like, oh look at this new person we haven't heard from before. So I really have to do a lot more stuff like this. And honestly, you should all tell me who I should force to join my stream and talk to me, right? Because later, you know, I'm always looking for new victims. But thank you very much for hopping on board to talk about this. If you have any final closing thoughts,
it's like the MCU, you know. You just have crossovers, and then people get more excited. All right, thanks for having me. I'm gonna play some Wolves vs. Wolves.
Ooh,
really enjoying the beta right now.
Wait, what server?
Yeah, I'm like ranked 163. I'm like a newbie in Wolves vs.
I'm gonna bring my my guild. We're gonna destroy you. We're gonna snipe you. Where are you at?
I don't think we're in the same matchup this time, but I still remember the time we beat Hardstuck in a guild versus guild by cheating.
Yeah,
it was great.
That is true.
Worth it.
That did happen.
Magical moment.
Yeah.
Distract them with our bodies. You just run at them and make sure everything's capped. Is that what you mean, or did you actually like?
Oh, but anyway, thank you very much. I will absolutely let you go on with your world versus world content. It's the Alliance as well, the World Restructuring Beta right now. Have a lot of fun there. I'm sure you will. And of course, hope to eventually see you on the battlefield. We can ally our guilds together when we actually test alliances, right? We can have the epic Hardstuck and C major wombo combo me, and that's gonna be, and we can get SG in there as well. I'll come to NA and play on the Hardstuck NA guild as well. We can get that Omega alliance. It's gonna be great.
That sounds great.
Yeah. Nice.
Anyway, take it easy. Thanks so much. Thanks so much, Lara. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it was fun. Thanks for having me.
Hell yeah. See you later.